Digital Agriculture webinar, What's Cooking series. This has been a series which has been launched during the pandemic. The amount of knowledge and learning which is happening is exponential. And we host in this series a number of practitioners, thought leaders, CEOs of technology data companies, public sector decision makers, and a number of people who are working on this field together. And the idea is to have a free exchange of innovations, digital solutions, which are emerging at a very rapid rate across the world, particularly in the area of agriculture and rural development. So we have a very interesting panel today. And today's topic is also very important because it talks about agriculture, resilience, talk about the youth, agripreneurs, and also talk about how digital approaches can be replicated on a large scale, basically, and what is the future way to go forward. And we are very delighted to have this panel here today. And I'll introduce the panel as they speak, but to just give you a broad overview that we will have a program which is around 90 minutes. We'll try to close it in 90 minutes so that we use the time effectively. And we will first have our partner and collaborator, Nadi Albino, who will really talk about how UNICEF, and she leads a very interesting program in UNICEF called Generation Unlimited. And it is really about how we bring the young people into development. And Nadi will give her perspective plus UNICEF's perspective on how she is looking at. She has a lot of experience, 20 years of experience in international development, has done a number of programs with girls, women, youth, and children. And so we are very delighted to have our UNICEF and Nadi to be here to talk about what they are doing. And after that, we have our the co-star speaker today, Shriram Bhartan, who also needs no introduction. Shriram had been to the bank earlier and had made this presentation. And I would like to record a warm welcome to Klaus, who was also at that time. And good to have you, Klaus, here after some time in this series, who also interacted with Shriram and this solution for some time. Klaus was the director for World Bank's private sector and digital and knowledge. He has been also a serial entrepreneur within the bank in terms of doing various things. So Shriram is also a serial and social entrepreneur. He's founder and chief mentor of KUZA. And he really uses digital platforms and technologies which really work across sectors, health, agriculture, water and sanitation. And he is really developing very cutting edge solutions which work with youth across many kind of regions, particularly Africa and South Asia. So he has been known as a leader. He's received a number of awards, which you can see from his CV. We are also very lucky today to have we have lucky to have other people, a very interesting panel. We have Dr. Gachara, John Gachara. He really currently is the coordinator of the World Bank supported National Rural Inclusive Growth Program in Kenya, in Kirinyaga County. And he has been leading this work in the public sector in terms of using digital agripreneurship and extension services. He has started as a high school teacher, but over a period of time, he took a lot of positions in public service. He's an academic with a lot of innovative and entrepreneurial mindset in the public sector. It will be great to hear John's perspectives. And we are also very lucky to have Robert. Robert is an agripreneur. So it's very good to have an agripreneur from Kenya who has gone into agriculture by choice, and how he is using the digital and entrepreneurship approaches in what he has started a social enterprise of his own, be my partner in partnership with 6 other youth. So he's a kind of microcosm of what kind of entrepreneurs are emerging in Kenya from this digital agripreneurship approach. And last but not the least, we have our own colleague, Jihai Kim. Jihai is the senior digital agriculture specialist in the Africa region, as she leads our work in Africa and has been responsible for a number of innovative and transformative operations, including leading the work on a flagship report on scaling up digital agriculture in Africa. And she's also responsible for a number of operations. She's leading a number of operations, both analytic and investment in Africa. And so she will give the perspective from the World Bank side on this solution and how we can work on this solution going forward. So, and we would request you to also join through the chat, and please feel free to ask these questions immediately when the presentations are going on. And so we will definitely try to incorporate your feedback. We will have a panel kind of discussion incorporating your questions after the initial presentations are over. So please feel free to participate in coming up with your solutions which you are coming in. Before I begin, I would request Vivek to also announce the next webinar on 17th. Vivek, can you put a slide on that if possible? So this is a webinar we are jointly doing with IFAD, our partner organization. And this time we are taking a very topic which is so important. It was important even before the pandemic, but it's even more important: innovations in rural digital financial services and remittances in Africa. And I think this is also going to be a very, very interesting webinar. We have a very rich panel which is being brought through our partners in IFAD. And I would request you at the same time on 17th, 9 a.m. to please tune in, and you will get the registration details and all through an announcement in the chat. I would also ask Vivek to put the thing on where this material will be available. This series is being hosted by the Open Learning Campus of the World Bank. So a lot of people who are not able to attend the webinar are able to go and watch this series. In fact, we have 7 times more people watching it after the webinar because everyone can't be there at this time. So I would request you that there is a lot of stuff which we need to do that. So I am sorry that this webinar is on 24th. Thanks for Ramji for pointing that out. This is not on 17th, this is on 24th. This webinar with IFAD, and thanks for pointing that out. So the Open Learning Campus has all the recordings and all the presentations of the last webinars which we have done available at one place. And even the proceedings of today's webinar will be available to you there. So all the presentations and the recording there. So I'll stop there and now invite our first panelist. I'm delighted to have Nadeem come and talk about both UNICEF and the other activities which I think are being done by UNICEF, plus their perspective on this issue of youth and digital agripreneurship. Over to you, Nadi.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Pamesh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sure everybody's on a different time zone. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Great. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Really, I'd love to share who we are, what we do, why we're doing what we do, etc. So as Pamesh has indicated, we are a part of UNICEF. We're a multi-sector public-private youth platform initiated by UNICEF. And I deliberately say a public-private youth platform with youth being in it to really indicate that we are cognizant of the assets and the value that young people bring to the table, and we want to work with them as partners. As opposed to having a PPP for youth, we thought it's best to have a PPYP. So this is exactly what we are, what we've been created to do. Our focus really is around skilling, underpinned by digital connectivity and digital literacy. It's skilling for employment for young people. It's skilling young people for entrepreneurship opportunities, and it's also skilling young people for social impact within their own contexts and communities, because young people, very enterprising, etc., and they want to make a difference. In the build up to Generation Unlimited, there was lots of consultations with different partners, including the World Bank, different UN agencies, private sector partners, and young people themselves, in terms of what is it that this platform can actually do and how we can work more effectively with different partners. So some of the things that we actually do is to identify programs that have been tested, that are proven, and that are scalable. This webinar is really about digital agripreneurs. So one of the programs that we have identified and we were working on, challenged actually by the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, in April of last year. Why can't we have a program around agripreneurs? And of course, knowing how young people are very keen and very interested and very adept with technology, we looked at the space. How do you combine technology, agripreneurship, exciting young people about getting into this agriculture space, building a pipeline right from the school level up to young people who are not able to get jobs, and create these opportunities for them so that they're able to plug in effectively into this sector. So in the course of trying to find out what are the best programs that are working on the ground that have all these elements that we could actually engage with, we were introduced to KUZA by FAO Rome. As we engaged with KUZA and noted the program that they're working with and the partners that they had on board, such as the World Bank, we realized that this is actually the kind of program that we're looking for. And this is the kind of program that we can build a consortium around and bring other partners on board, and where the young people actually have a say in how they're taking this program forward. So what we try to do, together with partners such as the World Bank, government partners, other UN partners, private sector partners, is really to expand the scale of this kind of work, looking at the different aspects and bringing in the different assets and values of different partners and expertise that can help expand this kind of programs at scale, at a national level, but also across different borders. Even as I speak, we already had consultations with the Ministry of Agriculture in Kenya, where they were telling us that the DRC is already interested in the concept that we are that is currently evolving in the partnership that we're having with KUZA and the World Bank and other key partners. So in so doing, we'll also be looking at how we're going to scale this across different geographies, etc. The interesting thing about this model in Kenya in particular is really the commitment of the government, the keen interest and investment from private sector partners, a dynamic partner such as KUZA that is understanding of what are the needs on the ground, that is very engaged with young people and interfacing with small shareholder farmers, so that all around everybody is able to understand what are the benefits that accrue to them and where they need to go to for help that they would need to be able to move forward. So pursuant to the president putting the challenge on our table during our Global Leadership Council meeting in April of last year, he went on to launch what was called the K Clubs in Kenya. This is really trying to engage young people from primary to secondary school level in the agriculture space along the different agricultural value chains, etc. Now, the technology aspect of it, the digital aspect that you spoke of, Pamesh, is what really excites our young people around this space. So we're trying to see how do you link this program that we're doing together with the schools, using schools as demo plots, engaging small shareholder farmers through the school community, and young people learning, understanding what this sector involves, and what the link to the markets are, and what kind of opportunities accrue, whether entrepreneurial or otherwise, employment within that sector are for young people, so that they also can contribute to the great growth that the agriculture sector can bring to any specific country. I think I will stop there so that we can give more opportunity for conversation and questions, etc., as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nadi, for your perspective. And I really am excited about this potential partnership with UNICEF. So I personally feel that the whole digital agenda should be about catching young people in their schools and the educational system rather than coming to at a late adult stage there. So I think potential partner with UNICEF on using schools also and colleges as incubators would be potentially a very interesting thing, so that you build the whole agri-entrepreneurship curriculum and opportunities for young people to start learning how to use digital and agripreneurship approaches from the beginning itself. So look forward to working very closely with you as you go forward. I would now like to invite Sriram Bartan, who is definitely very well known to a lot of us in the bank, because he has worked with on this programs for a number of time, even before we developed partnership with him across many regions. So over to you, Sriram, for your presentation. Thank you.
Morning, Parmesh. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Parmesh and the World Bank team for giving me this opportunity. And as Parmesh you shared, I fondly remember the conversation we had at a brown bag lunch at Washington, D.C. office not too long ago, 2018 October, where we socialized and discussed about this idea. And looking back, I think it's really, we come far. As KUZA, KUZA in Swahili means grow, biashara means business. So we at KUZA Biashara are creating opportunities for youth, women, and small business owners to learn, connect, and grow at scale. And scale is an extremely important dimension in everything we do. To just give some context, the founding team of KUZA, personally, I come from an enterprise consulting background, having worked with large enterprises for more than 2.5 decades. Fortunately, I had an opportunity to travel to Africa for the first time in 2010 with NASSCOM delegation from India. And I fell in love with what I saw on the continent, especially in Kenya, where there were, every Kenyan is very enterprising. I'm yet to meet a Kenyan who is not doing more than 2 things. And the second is the available infrastructure, the 3G network, the 4G network, now the 5G network already available. And most importantly, the ubiquitous availability of the M-Pesa. Even a common person is able to actually do mobile commerce. Now, as a serial and a social entrepreneur, that was like the biggest magnet for me to come back with a hope to spend a week. And it's the 11th year that I'm living here and have built this whole enterprise. So as KUZA, we have actually been working the key focus areas for us. Of course, it started with micro entrepreneurship, but then we started engaging in health, water, sanitation, hygiene, and agriculture. We realized that as we started working with communities at a grassroots level, more than 70% of the communities have agriculture as a core livelihood. And it made no sense. I mean, for us, it was like a no-brainer that we said we got to get into agriculture. And I need to admit, we are not experts in any of these domains. And that's fundamentally probably why we've also been able to succeed, because we always went with an open mind and an attitude to challenge the status quo, ask some obvious difficult questions, but also come with an attitude of problem solving. Now, just reflecting on the journey that we have taken so far, in less than 10 years, our journey has been exponential. Now, I call the first phase between 2012 to 2016. I remember when we won the Vision 2030 Innovation Award. I was on a television interview with Larry Madow, and I was bold enough to say we are actually going to have 1 million people impacted by 2018. And he challenged me and he said, "How are you so clear about it?" I don't know. It's just a gut feeling and the intention to get there. And by the way, by 2016, we got there, and thanks to the partnerships. The key thing that you see from this entire spectrum is partnerships, partnerships, and partnerships. We learned very early on that we have a unique strength, and our unique strength coupled with our partner strengths who have ground programs, who have kind of a strategic insight to be able to get there. So together we could actually go far. So the phase from 2016 to 2019 has been an exciting journey where we actually took, as much as I am from India, but I'm proudly feeling that, we took the Kenyan innovation, KUZA, back to India. And this is where we had our first opportunity to interact with the World Bank, working with the Jivika program in the state of Bihar, Umed program in the state of Maharashtra, SCRP, in collaboration with Syngenta Foundation for Sustainable Agriculture. And that's where the birth of this entire agripreneur model happened. And then there's no looking back. And today where we are, we now have actually put down a very bold aspiration that, we want to impact 1 billion lives, and that too in the next less than 8 years. And that's the power of exponential. It took us time to get up to 100,000 users, and then 1 million users, and now 10 million, and then it will grow. So we are thoroughly convinced that we managed to put together the structures, the infrastructure, and everything that is needed. Now, one of the things I wanted to share is, because we are new to the development sector, over the last decade, having interacted with multiple programs, multiple partners in the development sector, private sector, and also the public sector, we realized that some of the things, the 3 things that really bubble up as part of the conversations and design is accountability seems to be missing. These are the points that we heard from the stakeholders. Agility, because once the log frame and the program design is done, it's very hard to change. But things like COVID happened, and how do you go about doing it? And the third is transparency. So a lot of our program thinking pivoted around the fact that we have 3 cornerstones on which we started designing and bundling and doing things. One is people. We invest a lot on people. People need not necessarily be our own staff, but it's also our partner teams and also the communities. Second is process, and the process is the one that gives us the agility to be able to change the wheels as we are on the move. And most importantly, technology. Technology is the one that actually gives us the leverage to be able to do this further. Now, as we are embarking on this ambitious journey, I want to step back and just give a perspective of the entire human-centric design that we've been doing over the last 2 decades plus is revolved around the fact that we have a user. End of the day, this entire spectrum of ag tech and all of this is great, but fundamentally, we have to empathize with somebody, a smallholder farmer. Now, if you look at this perspective, nobody knows this farmer. As much as KYC is done by banks and telcos, honestly speaking, having worked very closely with them, we know that nobody knows them. Now, the extension service, to give a perspective, in Kenya, an average farmer is 63-year-old and an average Kenyan is 19-year-old. There's a massive intergenerational crisis going on. They don't get access to quality inputs. There's a lot of conversation around regenerative agriculture, but the extension systems the public sector extension system is broken, and it's very difficult for the farmers to even to get the basic things right. And if you look from the donor perspective, donors are mainly operating through grants, and those are inadequate and unsustainable. And private sector engagements are siloed, commodity specific, and not brand neutral. Now, the decision making at a public policy level, there's no data. So the lack of data-driven decision making is also not helping the cause. And youth and women don't see agriculture as a career option. So when we looked at all of this, we said, even if the farmer gets 90% of these different perspectives right, they still can't put an extra dollar in their pocket simply because all of them have to come together. And that's where we had to think differently, out of the box. And then said, if we have to revolutionize this sector, we need to think differently. On one side, we have a massive employment issues. And the rural areas, majority of the youth are not interested in agriculture. They are migrating to bigger cities. And we saw the farmers struggling with their own challenges, as you see on this slide. We said, is there a solution within this own problem? We had a choice. We wait till the cows come home, figure out some technology will come, something happens, versus what is it that we can do with the resources that we have. And the most important resource that we have on the continent is the power of youth. So we took a perspective and then said, is there a way we can actually empower a set of youth from within the community? Can we put them through some kind of an incubation model? And this is not one of those incubation accelerators that you see in bigger cities. We actually took it head on, leveraging the digital technologies. We had to design something which can work even without power, without internet, in the remotest parts of Africa. So the model is to put them through an incubation with an idea that they would actually provide crop advisory. And how can a high school or out of the school kid can actually provide advisory, which is a scientific topic. And this is where we got challenged by a lot of research, academia, and private sector players. And in a few minutes, I'm going to share with you how we started revolutionizing that. And then with the idea that, yes, they can provide crop advisory, and they have to provide crop advisory for free, because we cannot expect a farmer who is earning $2 to $3 per day to pay an extra dollar for this. And they have to sustain from the services like inputs and products and the credit and market, access to off-takers and all of that. That's where we started doing this modeling. And I need to admit here that our success story is only 2%. Now, you heard it right, 2%. 98 times out of 100 attempts we made, we have failed. And this is something that's a culmination of more than 2 decades of trial and error. And that's what got us this far. Now, when we looked at an entrepreneur, we said, now, somebody who is out of the school, 25, under 35 years of age, they don't know what they don't know. They've not gone to a formal education. Now, how do they learn? So they are learning with a mentor that KUZA is providing. They are learning from their peers, and they are also learning through the ecosystem that we are creating, a community. They're connecting with a set of farmers. The ideal ratio that we have realized is about 200 farmers. They can actually make a sustainable living out of that. And connecting with a set of service providers, and then they grow as a collective. So this is, you can see in this entire modeling, initially we were doing it as a linear thinking, but then we realized that this is not linear, this is a continuous cycle with the feedback loops built into this, such that the service providers know what is happening, the farmers are getting a feedback, and the entrepreneurs are graduating from one level to other level. For this kind of a programmatic thinking, we actually came out with a model called REDI, Rural Entrepreneur Development Incubator. Now, as they say, extreme conditions are a fertile soil for extreme innovation. REDI was on, as part of our business plan, was supposed to be launched in 2023. Thanks to COVID, we actually had to do this in 2020. And because our model was already decentralized, because it's already pivoted on digital and the cloud infrastructure with edge computing technology built into this, we could actually roll this out in under 60 days across the country and beyond. We also went ahead and launched in Mozambique, and we also experimented this in India and other countries. But the fundamental piece here is REDI is all about, in the rural setups with little or no infrastructure, we are now able to enroll enterprising rural youth. As I shared earlier, they have to necessarily be from the community, build their capacity through a very structured mentorship process, so that they now start doing their farmer engagement, and in the process, start up their own business. I think Robert, as part of his presentation, would actually share his own journey as how they went about doing this, and how interestingly they managed to scale and sustain their own business. And this is where they start by providing advisory services, and through advisory services is how they earn the trust and respect of the farmers. And as I said, they don't charge for it, but the sustainability comes from the transactions that happen through the marketplace. And that's how they scale and sustain. So trust is the currency on which this entire network model is built. And the trust is not that we are actually shipping people from a bigger city to a smaller village. No, we are picking up youth from within the remote areas and village context, investing on them, building their capacities, and empowering them with a set of technologies and toolkits and their access to network, so that they are able to get into a business and then survive and thrive. Now, as I shared earlier, for us to be able to do this, we actually had to invest upfront. So we realized that extension knowledge is limited to a set few people. And the knowledge that is available between the research, academia, and the large private sector is always available at the top. Now, how do we empower somebody on the front line to be able to do this? Is where we actually saw three interesting trends. Number one, the reducing attention span of people, especially youth. What used to be 15 minutes 4 years ago has come down to 3 minutes and going down to 15 seconds. That's quite scary. It's like the TikTok world. If you don't get somebody in 15, 20 seconds or less than a minute, you lose them. So we started investing in 2012 in a model called micro learning, where we've taken like 42 value chains, both crops and livestock. We started investing in creating micro learning videos. These are short bite-sized videos, which are nothing more than 3 minutes, which are very contextual, done in local languages, and now we are taking them into local dialects. That's a massive library of over 10,000 plus videos that are available in a smartphone or a device like a tablet to this youth back of their hand. And the second, we also had to come out with a distribution mechanism, a micro distribution as we call it, is all about how do we make this high definition video content on agriculture practices to their farmers. Majority of our farmers don't have smartphones. Internet is not available. Even if it is, it's very expensive and it's patchy. So we had to come out with a portable digital extension kit. Now, this technology that you see here, you see a small projection system here, which is a self-powered projector with the content sitting inside. So all the entrepreneur or the agent need is to carry that with them. They are able to screen the content even in a remote area. We don't need conference rooms. Of course, we don't have them there. And they are able to engage the farmers on a topic of the interest for the small cohort of farmers who meet up. And then we also have this edge computing technology, which is now able to create portable cloud without the need for data, without the need for internet. We are able to run some of these latest technologies and apps that we all hear in the rural areas, because this is a cloud infrastructure, portable cloud infrastructure, which creates a local network, and we are able to do this. And most importantly, the third one is micro mentoring. We realize that yes, we can have all of this, but what is important is a customer. If a set of farmers sitting there and talking about a challenge of a pest or a disease, like there's a locust attack, what do we do? This youth entrepreneur should be able to quickly, in less than 2 minutes, able to screen something to them, to talk them through in a local language, in a way that they understand, comprehend, and actually can take action. So that's where the micro mentoring techniques are coming in, and this is where we are using a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence related technologies. But ultimately, the bottom line here is we are humanizing technologies and making them available at a grassroots level. And that's fundamentally the biggest problem that we are solving. Now, here are a few use cases of how you see these youth entrepreneurs who are able to now provide digital extension. You can see there's a context where there is some kind of a informal structure in the first picture here, that this agripreneur from Kirinyaga County is now able to talk to them about tomato practices. And she's actually walking them through a case study and informing them in a local language to be able to connect with them and do this. And in this case, Robert is now talking about the fertility of the soil and the soil testing, the need for soil testing. And you can see very high definition graphics. And this is how you are able to now talk the audience through as to how you go about understanding this. And of course, also in local language. And the other instances where this is like some construction site where you just put some white cloth and now you are able to do this. Now, in a very cozy environment like this, where there's no judgment and there's no expert, everybody in this group is an expert in their own area. But what we are able to do is to package some of this expertise that's available only so far has been in the research world and academic world and also large private sector companies. We are now able to package this and make it available at this level. And here the interesting piece is there's a feedback loop built into this. Every interaction that is happening between the agripreneur and the farmers is captured. And that's how we are now able to incrementally grow and build the business cases, and also see how we are able to make this happen. This has been a very exciting journey, and in a few minutes, we'll hear from Robert as to how they went about building the business, their own business on this. Now, looking at the commercialization side of it. Now, if you see here, this young entrepreneur, Lena, who is actually engaging 200 farmers, is actually she's She's one of the prime users of this OneNetwork, which is our digital marketplace. As she is interacting and as she is able to now establish trust, she is able to capture the demand. Like Robert case, when he is explaining and talking to them about soil testing, of course, he's able to generate interest and also demand for soil testing service. That's something that this entrepreneur captures in their own system with their device. Behind the scenes, we are actually lining up a set of service providers. And you can see in this roster of service providers, we are bringing players from input companies, mechanization service providers, credit, finance, insurance, market off-takers, pretty much everybody in the ecosystem, and most importantly, other digital innovators. Fortunately, the digital innovation, the AgTech space has been exploding, and we are able to get a lot of interesting solutions. Almost every other month, we are seeing a new startup coming in. And what we are doing is we are bringing all those AgTech innovations and giving them route to market. This is like a social route to market, both for digital innovators, traditional players, and others who are interested in the farmer and find it extremely expensive to go that far. We are now able to bridge that last mile, first mile connect doing this. And this is where the products and services move and the monies go back to them. And this is where the commerce is happening for the sustainability of this entrepreneur. To just give a perspective, these are multiple revenue streams that our agripreneurs are able to earn today, like from selling of inputs, seeds, fertilizers, pesticides. Aggregation is again a very interesting area where entrepreneurs are able to make a decent income out of that. Specialized services like soil testing, mechanization services, spraying, threshing, harrowing. There are 32 different services that we have actually tested at scale, which would actually give. And I also want to highlight that not everybody is doing all of them. We actually are also encouraging entrepreneurs to now start getting into a specialization, and that's what you would see in my next slide. So this is what we have seen. Here are a few examples of the real entrepreneurs. The bottom line is what we learned is when people adopt technology, not necessarily digital, any technology, they do old things in a new way. Like we all have seen our parents and elders using the normal phone now into the smartphone. But the real key thing that we learned is when people internalize technology, they find new things to do. Now, let me speak about this example of Joseph Durango. Joseph Durango and his wife, they've actually understood the demand for potato seedlings, and they came out with this apical cutting technology. And today, in fact, Nadi and we were actually doing a field visit last month in Nakuru, and they're surprised. Every time I go visit them, these guys surprised. In less than 6 months, last year, they have done 10,000 seedlings the whole year. And now he's saying that they are actually scaled up to do 10,000 seedlings every month. That's a massive 10x growth in their business. And he's got demand from across 10 counties, and they are now really scaling up. Now, if you look at Lena, she's got an input shop. And now Robert, who is going to speak in a few minutes, he's actually come out with his own group, a biofertilizer business. And now, interestingly, they are actually producing this. They've already gone into a kind of a model where they are producing this, and Lena is the one who is distributing it through her shop, and all of them within the same community. And this is where we have realized that, yes, you can think, I mean, initially we saw entrepreneurs thinking their neighbor is their competition, but this is where we started bringing them together and then say, collectively, you can go far. And that's a major shift that has happened in the last 2 years. And talking about the model at large, we figured out that no single entity can actually do this. And we have to come out with a model where we are able to bring the public sector. Yes, public sector has a major role to play in terms of policy and also bringing public good investment and favorable policy for private sector. A philanthropy sector is playing the catalytic role of ensuring that we are able to incubate these entrepreneurs, ensuring that we are able to get the initial startup and to leverage that. And the private sector is actually getting interested simply because with this investment from public and philanthropy sector, the cost of acquisition of a farmer is coming down. And this is where the 1 million farmer platform initiative by the World Bank in Kenya is doing a fantastic role, because already 1 million farmers have already been digitized, that is available. And as innovators, we are all now able to leverage that, work directly, focus mostly on solving the problem and not necessarily on acquiring of farmers. And as the private sector is playing a role of service delivery, bringing economies of scale and also bringing competition, which is great. And most importantly, the scale and sustainability is coming because we've actually put a digital platform in between. Yes, this has been a challenging journey, but we understood early on that if we have to scale and the scale that everyone wants, we can only do this with public sector. Yes, public sector is challenging to work with, but the day public sector gets it, I think we've already seen in the last 18 months, we have scaled from 3 counties in Kenya to 29 counties, thanks to the public sector partnership. Thanks to the support that we have been receiving from the development sector to be able to accelerate this movement and the private sector partners who are joining this. So this is a kind of a massive flywheel which was not moving, and now we are able to see that this is spinning, and we are now scaling this exponentially. To just name a few, like last AGRF, we have signed an MOU, continent-wide MOU with Heifer International, which is already taking us to 11 countries. This quarter, we have kicked off 3 countries, and now we are adding. So one partnership, either from a philanthropy partner or a public sector partner, we are there. And with the partnership with GenU, we are already talking of 46 countries. Now, while scale is important, we also learned that we need to have a demonstrable working model on the ground. And that's why we are heads down. We actually optimize the time during the COVID to focus and concentrate in one single country, saturate the model, have a demonstrable model with evidence to be able to now see and scale this across. So I want to summarize by saying ecosystem is something everybody speaks, but this is our definition of this. We started pivoting all of our business on this digital agripreneurs. Our entire core business is to identify them, invest on them, incubate them, and get them ready so that they can offer a set of bundled services to the farmers, all within the local community. And the key success factor here is the bundling of the services at the last mile. The bunch of services that they need to provide, only when they are able to bundle is when the economies of scale come, and then the total economic engine will start spinning. The beneficiary is really a farmer. The key benefits being they are able to now get access to inputs. We are able to negotiate on behalf of these large farmer networks that we are acquiring to bring the bring the costing down, and ultimately working towards improving the income and the quality of life for the farmers. And this is just half the game. The real game is also happening through the ecosystem partners. Now here is a complete network of partners. All of them are interested, end of the day, in the farmer. They have a product or service to offer to them, but everybody is now trying to create their own channel to get there. And our ambition and aspiration is to create a structured channel, a reliable, dependable channel at the last mile, where we have transparency, agility, and accountability brought and designed into the system. So all these actors who have interest, the ecosystem actors in reaching the farmer, are now able to pipe through a digital agripreneur. And for us to be able to do this, the catalytic investment from catalytic partners, like today we are working in specifically talking about Kenya as a case, with the World Bank programs and the UN World Food Program and Heifer International and others who are coming in, they are able to commit to bring some of the resources to the table. And we are creating consortiums so that we are now able to work together towards a common goal and make this happen. So in a way, to summarize, yes, building individual mastery is important, taking everybody through the learn, connect, and grow cycle. And this is what I think a lot of developmental partners are able to do successfully. But what we learn is this is just a beginning. And what is important is we have to build a relationship between them. And this is where the earlier example I was talking about, bringing some of these agripreneurs together, making them work as a collective. And I think Dr. John Gashara is going to speak as a county, how they are able to come out with a favorable policy to encourage youth agripreneurs to come into some form of a community-based organization. So collectively, they can actually start doing in their community. And when you really scale at a government scale, at a national scale, international scale, the network effect is visible because we are just repeating the same cycle. And this is the simplicity of the design, which is able to help us create long-term sustainable ecosystems on the ground for collective prosperity. So these are some of our learnings and experiences. Happy to take more questions, but I think thank you so much, Parmesh, for giving us this opportunity.
Thanks a lot, Sriram. Always a pleasure to listen to you. And I think the model has so much evolved, and the way you have, converted this into principles and operational procedures, and it's almost like a SOP kind of a model in which you have really cracked what will go into it. And to me, we have been too much involved in projects in the past. We have not worked on the ecosystem part of it, in a way, which is more scalable, sustainable in the long run there. And I think there are lots of interesting things there, which I think I would encourage everyone to put their question. Already there are questions for you, Sriram, in the chat. So I would request you to start responding to people, but I will harvest these questions at the end to you and the other panelists so that we can have a conversation going on this, basically. But many thanks for it. I'm always inspired by whenever you present, and always new learning comes whenever you present there. And personally, as a World Bank investment manager, I took some of these approaches when we started working in Bihar, in India. And so I think this is also a very important example of how things will go from Africa to the rest of the world. So this particular approach has the potential to become global and travel from Africa to every other parts of the world, not the other kinds of approaches which always get dumped on the African region. This could be a homegrown approach which could go to other regions there. I have now great pleasure in inviting John Gachara. So I think John is really bringing the public sector perspective in terms of how even a public sector like a county in Kenya, we work with about 45 counties in Kenya. And we have learned this, that leaders in the innovators like Dr. Gachara in the public system can create an enabling environment to really invest in that. And John, over to you now. You have the floor.
Thank you, Pamesh, for this opportunity to share this evening. It's great to hear that KUZA, how far they have done. It's an exciting model. I want to start from there. That the moment we met and I listened to him, it was quite transformative. And particularly looking into what the public sector is supposed to be doing, majorly mainstreaming innovations so that they can be able to reach each one of us. So I wish to start by, first of all, looking at the general perspective of the public sector. How is what is the major role of it when it comes to particularly agro extension? And we say here, we look at it in two ways as an enabling factor. The first one, the public sector is supposed to create a policy that helps to encourage innovations in agriculture to reach the farmer. And secondly, it's supposed to help to select and mainstream the models of innovations that can be able to be used in various aspects of agriculture. So having said that, and looking into what we are discussing today, I would wish to go straight away to the issue of the digitalization in terms of transformation of agriculture. And start by saying that we have a wide range. Of recent, this country has been able to be faced by a wide range of digital innovations, expansion in digital platforms, and embracement by various sectors on the same, public sector being one of them. However, what we have seen KUZA doing is quite different. Most of the innovations in agriculture, particularly on extension services, they basically focus on singularity, a solution to a specific challenges that is facing the farmer, either on marketing alone or advisory alone, or we find sometimes addressing the very specific issues. But when you come to look at what we are addressing today and what we are presenting today, which is the KUZA model, this one is an ecosystem because it's bringing together these four main aspects: It's bringing advisory, which is critical, and the traditional kind of, we can say the tradition of extension, basic purposes of extension. Secondly, it is also working on the issues of market access and also the issue of credit and input supply. So when you look at it, that it is it's going beyond what we know as extension services, and therefore, as a government and as a public sector with the responsibility of mainstreaming the best practices for the benefit of the citizen, this is one of the major encouraging innovation. And if I can take you through a journey where we came to meet this model through this program that we are running, which is called NARIC, we were given opportunity as a county. We have various policies. And one of the main policy in our county is called Wezesha. Wezesha means enabling. Under this policy, we are required to look at various initiatives that can be able to uplift the lives of those who are impoverished, particularly mainly focusing on women and youth. And therefore, whenever we are looking at innovations under Kirinyaga County, we are basically looking at what is this that is attractive, that should be attractive to young people? What is this that's going to help us uplift the livelihood of women? So we were given opportunity through a program called Disruptive Agricultural Technology under the same program, under the NARIC program, where various innovators were brought together. And we had to do our role. This is of selecting who is the best among these. And as we were going through this, we realized that most of the innovators were basically only specific to some particular issues. But on reviewing of this model, we ended up realizing that these are plug-in model, is a platform, is a whole ecosystem covering every aspect of the farm. Because as we speak today, we know the agricultural extension has gone through quite a revolution, right from the beginning, where majorly it was the responsibility of the public sector to provide these services. But there has been, with the changes in governance and the need for more involvement of a private sector, more involvement and inclusion of day-to-day changing technological advancement, and also embracing the pluralism in our kind of governance, then we are called upon to the policy towards the extension has been widely changing. And therefore, by looking at this one, we are saying this one model that can be practiced. However, making sure that this model is sustainable. Adopting it is one thing, accepting it is one thing, but making sure that this model is sustainable and is acceptable amongst our people is also a different case. I want to give a case study here of Kirinyaga. In the beginning, when we came up, when we went back to our county and said that we have seen a good model for extension services, whereby we are bringing a private sector to participate, to bring young people to go and serve as extension officers. There was a huge resistance. There was a huge resistance from the serving officers. I want to put this one in a silent. But after trying to convince them that these people are not coming to replace you, it's a model that we need to practice. Still, there was no much of support. But together in the program, we said, fine, let us take another channel. Let us go back and try to convince maybe community. It will be a bit receptive. Because for us, we were seeing this, the model is going to work. We started the process by talking to the community. The community here required to be involved, and we told them, but fine, you shall be the ones to select the participants in the model. Select people of good integrity within your community, known, practicing agriculture, so that we can bring them, and we want them to be young people. They did that. We went through the normal process of public recruitment, and we were able to recruit a group of about 10. The program also provided us with the opportunity to buy the gadgets which were required from the same program developer, that is KUZA. And they were taken through the process of what we are calling incubation period. Let me say, as they were going through, also in ourselves, we were reflecting and asking ourselves, are we really in the right direction? Is it going to work? Slowly, we realized that the training is good. They are picking up, but we said, fine, let us wait after training. During the training, people are normally very enthusiastic because they're having something to do. Let us wait until we get out and see what's going to happen. At that time, we tried to engage also some polytechnic to start some demo farms. And I was happy to hear about, but I'll talk about it later. The UNICEF program is a good initiative. The polytechnic was not very much ready for that. They did not feel that, they found that probably this program may not work. But after these young people completed and they were deployed to different sectors, specifically working in one value chain at an issue point, that was tomato value chain. Along the way through the monitoring, we realized that farmers are embracing what they are being taken through. And we could follow these young people and find truly they are actually giving advisory services to the farmers. And we could be able to meet them at their very independent point, connecting farmers to input suppliers. At the same time, trying to connect them also with various other service providers. And this is the time we realize truly this program, this model can work. After the initial 1 year, which we are calling the initial contract, we had to look for a way to make this program sustainable. Because at initial point, the program was being supported through the NARIC projects. But we asked ourselves, what do we do with these young people? They're already in the market. They're already in the field. The field officers have realized now that these are helping hand. They remain the experts. These are just a helping hand to them. Community has come to appreciate that we are able to interact more easily with these people. What they come with, we are able to also to interact with other experts and the innovations from elsewhere. And after soul searching, we decided to help these young people to establish a community-based organization. This community-based organization, we are able to support it with the initial materials such as soil testing kits. And they have been able to establish it very well. They are now a small organization. They can enter into various partnerships. And we have also in this program, some people we refer to them as community facilitators, whom we are transforming them into agripreneurs. Because for the agripreneur, you don't have to look for fund to support. It's self-sustaining program. Because through connectivity, business connectivity, they're able to earn through commission. So they not rely on whatever small they get from. It's not a donor-funded program anymore, but it become a homegrown program. And we are hoping that this CBO will still continue to support it in terms of training, capacity building. And we believe it's going to grow to an organization that can be able now to offer, to offer various extension services to community. So far, there are about 25 of them. We are expecting them to grow towards the end of the year. We are hoping they're going to grow to about 50 of them, offering various services and connectivity. So, to our vision is to see that if this is a CBO in one of the county, and I'm happy, Panesh, you are saying that we have 45 counties through, 42, 43 in agriculture. If each county was to establish such a CBO, we are saying we are creating a new network of extension services. And this one will come handy in terms of supporting the extension services. Resources are scarce. Local governments, which we call county governments, are not having adequate resources to support this. And the other small innovations in agriculture can easily be hooked into this big ecosystem. If I have a small program which can guide a fish farmer, I don't have to run with it. I can easily connect into this one, and it's going to reach wide. If I have a small one, probably for coffee, I don't need to give the farmer a program for coffee, a program for maize, a program for tomato. Even if you are to download all these mobile apps and put in your phone, slowly your phone will not be working. And therefore, when we have one network that is able to bring everyone together, it makes it easier even for clear partnership between it and the public sector, where the public sector will provide essentially three things. One, coordination. So that coordination here, I mean, where coordination and regulation, where these agripreneurs, that's the vision we are having, and I believe we are going to push it, and with my brother there, Siri, we'll be able to move it, to make sure that these people are certified. And we are saying, once you go through this incubation, you are certified, and therefore, when you are dealing with the farmers, you are known. You have a number, you can be traced. The traceability of you as a service provider, it is there. That is one of the roles that we expect to do as a public sector, to help and certify these people. Because once you certify them, you are able to coordinate them as a community extension service. Secondly, we want to link it to the normal public sector extension services, where the public sector will provide quality assurance. When small videos are developed, probably they are given to the public extension officers, they quality assure, they approve. So they ensure that the information going to the public is the correct information. And therefore they reassure community that whatever they are getting is right. And the third one is the issue of data security, because this program is leveraging on issue of data agriculture, data-driven agriculture. Therefore, the security of the data is critical. The data of the farmer need to be protected. Using various regulations that are provided in the country, this something can be found. Let me share something unique about Kenya. In public, and this one I want to share about our public service where I also serve. One thing we know, when every program starts, particularly for the field service, usually there is what we call a database established or information system established. You go to a mother ministry, Ministry of Agriculture, you'll find 5 to 6 information systems. The unique part is these information systems, they are not interlinked, and therefore they operate independently, yet they are supposed to serve one farmer. This disintegration is one of the major setbacks. And such an ecosystem, if it is linked to all these data, the farmer will get this one from one stop. He'll be able to access the services provided by all these from one stop. instead of having a standalone database or information system, we'll be able to have only one network. This is a vision that we're having, and we hope with various partners we can be able to reach that point. So in action, we are saying this is a broad-based digital ecosystem and very exciting to young people, because in Kenya, young people are very excited about the ICT. It's new, and they're now going beyond just watching movies and everything, and they're saying it's making a livelihood out of it. So it's something quite exciting to us to see how it moves. The second thing that I've seen that is also very exciting is from our sister Nandi. Nandi, this one is good, particularly with that UNICEF. I hope it will work, because if this work, fine, we have revived agriculture in Kenya. Because we'll start with these young people from a very tender age. These clubs used to be there, but due to one or two things, the inefficiency in public sector, they went dying. But with the involvement in digital affair, I believe they are going to come up again. And with the support of such an ecosystem, it means that these young people will grow understanding this new perspective in an extension exercise. And I believe that we will be able to move far. For the moment, I will
Thank you very much, John. And I think it shows the deep thinking going on in Kenya, in the counties. I think we need transformational and thinking leaders like you. And I really congratulate you for such deep thought. And I think you brought a lot of interesting issues about the data privacy, one data network, a common one which will allow this model to scale up again. You also brought in how do we sustain this through creating a CBO in every county, which really networks these. They are very important points, and lots of other important points there. So I would request everyone to put some questions to John if you want to understand what the role of public sector and the local government in spurring this innovation would be there. And I think that in Kenya, we are very conscious that this cannot be done without this kind of leadership at the county level. And I think Sriram and others have also pointed this out, that we have somehow been able to create a platform between public sector and innovators of a unique kind. And that is why we feel that going to scale is not going to be that difficult if we have thought this through and developed this platform in a more co-production kind of a way, rather than only relying on private sector, only relying on public sector. And I think what comes out at the end of it has implications for the whole global world on how things can be done. So congratulations, John, again for a very good presentation and your leadership in this area. And now I would love to change. Now we have a very unique opportunity. We have John Mwangi, who is one of the Agripreneurs which has come out of this incubation process. As Sriram also said, he's trying a lot of innovative approaches. Over to you, John. Please spend some time in explaining to us how you have benefited from this program and what are you trying to do as a result of that. Please go ahead.
I guess it is Robert and not John. Thank you.
Apologize. I was taken by the last thing. Robert Mwangi, please, Robert, please go ahead. Apologize for that.
Hello, Pamesh. I hope I'm audible.
You have to speak slightly more loudly.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, now it's okay. Please go ahead, Robert.
Hi, everyone. I am Robert, 30-year-old economics and statistics graduate from the University of Nairobi. After I completed my campus, I tried very many hustles but failed miserably as I could not get any employment. So I moved to my village and got into agriculture to do some odd jobs, not because I wanted to, but I had no choice. So I started spending more time with small-scale farmers, and I really saw and got to understand firsthand the challenges that myself, farmers are now interested in the technology and they come looking for me so that I can offer those advisory services. And by that, I have seen the impact because we have a tablet where we keep all our records. And over time, through the aggregation process, especially in the potato value chain, which I've focused on, I have seen those numbers increase over the past 9 months. Again, I collaborate with other digital agripreneurs, roadshows, help farmers, make farmers aware of this technology. Initially, again, let me say it was very hard for me to pursue this line because I wasn't clear on where and how I was going to make money. But thanks to the continued support from the KUZA mentors and the Nakuru County team. Again, fueled by my passion for agriculture, I felt so much accountable, and I started digging deeper. And at this point is when I managed to convince some few youth, some of my friends and other colleagues, and we started a youth group. And from there, we distributed tasks among ourselves. And looking back 9 months down the line, we have managed to start our own social entrepreneur. It goes by the name Be My Partner Limited, which has evolved from Be My Partner Youth. Here we are now producing organic fertilizer, and we've also come up and developed a circular economies model where we combine different value chains and leverage on the synergies that come along, in that we use waste from one value chain as an input to another. And this model can be broken down into several components which can be adopted by farmers in helping them reduce their cost of production, which will eventually translate to increased agricultural productivity as well as profitability. So currently we have expanded our operations, and we are distributing our products from the 1,000 farmers I engage with. At least 200 of them have already adopted to a circular economies model and are also using our organic fertilizer. And again, KUZA, apart from having a big impact on the farmers, for me as an entrepreneur, it has given me a network of many other agripreneurs. So marketing for my products has become very easy. So, and as our demand grows, we are able now to even create more employment opportunities back here to most of the youth out of school, and also those who have gone through formal education and are in the agricultural background. So now that we have seen our full cycle, we are exploring ways for more capital so that we can grow our business and realize its full potential. And we are even looking forward to franchise this model to other counties in Kenya, as well as out of Africa. So in conclusion, I would like to thank the KUZA team. The mentors have been so wonderful. I would also like to thank the county government for embracing these public-private partnerships, because out of those, we've gotten opportunities as youth, not only me, because the effects now have also spilled over to other youths who are not directly. So I would also like to thank the other agripreneurs in my cohort. We've been so cooperative, and the synergies that have developed from there have borne fruits and are helping us create income generating opportunities as well as job opportunities for ourselves. Thank you very much, Parmesh.
Thanks a lot, Robert. This is a very inspiring presentation, such clarity in your thought process, and clearly you feel empowered to really lead this. And I'm sure you will also take this approach to other countries, and we hope that we are able to support you in terms of not only developing the business in your own part of the country, but also to other parts of Kenya and other places. So I think a lot of learning from how you have taken this approach and internalized it. So before I go to my colleague GI, I'll just pose a couple of questions based on the audience questions, and then ask GI to conclude by giving her remarks there. So starting with Nadi, I think, what does UNICEF, do you look at this approach going beyond Kenya? Because you have a lot of, buy-in from even the president and everyone at this stage, So you can see the counties are so empowered, the people are empowered. So it's easier to do this in Kenya when the ecosystem is there. So as UNICEF, when you take this approach to other countries, what do you see as the way we have to look at it? Plus, do you think we should have this incubation not with adult people, but even catch them even younger? Can you respond to these couple of questions?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Pamesh. yes, the commitment from governments, the political commitment is always important, and we always work very hard towards that. As you know how we work as UN offices at country level, it's always at the bequest of government and together with government. However, you heard Shri say earlier on that we want to take it to 47 countries already. The government of DRC is already excited only of the concept. We still even haven't started to implement, but the concept has been exciting. We have a very strong board of private sector members and government officials, ministers and above. We have a very strong leadership council in GENU, and we also have a very strong leadership group led by the UN Secretary General. So using those apparatus, we're able to work in countries and convince governments in particular to come on board. But because of the very strong private sector presence within the GENU governance structure, we're also able to mobilize private sector to come on board. And because young people are our driving force, we have a massive young people's action team, almost 100 young people who help us in terms of our thought processes, programs that we develop, how they can work, consultation with young people on the ground, and this is across the globe, and they're also able to help us to mobilize resources further and to mobilize around concepts that we take to the ground. So we're very excited. We recently launched GenU Sahel in the 10 Sahel countries, and this is something that they're really thirsty and crying for. And I was saying to Shri when I was in Nairobi and we went to the field and met Robert and Leah and Diragu and others that, you know, Sahel is actually open, fertile ground. I had a consultation with 5,000 young people in the Sahel on the first week of December. And this is one of the things that they have been pushing for, given the terrain, etc., but also the understanding that this is an industry that will really help boost GDP, that will help young people find opportunities for sustainable livelihoods. You've heard what Robert has said in his articulation of how he's able to also sustain himself and those that they work with. So yes, we're very excited. We're looking forward, Parmesh, with your team to have deeper consultations and conversations on this so that we see how we can partner across the continent of Africa and of course beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadi. Really look forward to this. And I think what I like is that in your model, there's already a lot of private sector in there. So we have a new investment coming in Sahel, a $500 million investment, and we would like to develop a very collaboration model with you jointly so that we can really, like in Kenya, we had this investment that allowed us to go to scale much faster. And can we do this now strategically with UNICEF going forward? So we will definitely have a proper conversation between our teams and your teams to see how we can structure it more there. But I'm very excited about the possibility of working with youth agripreneurs on scale. Sriram, over to you. I think you have seen a lot of questions. You already responded to a lot of them. I think people are saying that, how will this go to scale? You know, you have rightly so scale aspirations, because when you think of scale, you think differently. And if you think of project, you think differently. You think ecosystem, you think differently. So now, how do you see as the main constraints now to taking this to scale, and what should be done through public resources? What should be the public good investment in this approach?
Thanks, Parmesh. I think that's been one of the core points that we've been thinking through, brainstorming, and most importantly, engaging different partners. Like, for example, this just conversation with GenU is like 4-month-old conversation. We managed to move from an idea stage to a concept to proposaling to getting an approval from a board. I mean, all being fair, within a UN organization, it's not easy. That actually shows the clarity in the model, the evidence on the ground, and of course, most importantly, we are now also creating the monitoring and evaluation data that is coming in real time. And between me and Nadi, when we presented at the GLC just mid-December, there's so much excitement from all the private sector industry leaders. So the key is, yes, public sector a favorable policy, and I think, I don't know, is there any country out there in the world who is not looking at engaging youth in agriculture? So that's given. All that they are looking for is a model for scale. And what we have managed to create is a demonstratable model. And that's why we took this bold step to take it to India. For me, India is a continent, right? So it's pretty much you squeeze Africa, put the same amount of more population that is India. Every state, every 200 kilometers, everything changes. The soil type, agroclimatic conditions, language, culture, everything. So having scaled this in 10 Indian states within a very short span of 18 months taught us a lot of things. So the agility, as I shared earlier, is an extremely important piece that we managed to put into the system. We don't have all the answers, but I think the pieces of the puzzle are with the public sector, private sector, and philanthropy sector who can actually catalyze this change. And I think that conversation is already happening.
Thank you very much. And so that John, so I would come to John now. Sriram, many thanks, because people are asking a lot of questions which are more clarification questions. So please keep on answering them. And also, I'm glad that you put your email ID there so people can get in touch with you later on. John, I would put a question to you that there are so many local governments in Africa, and almost every country is getting decentralized. What would be your 2 points of advice to the governments which are embarking on these approaches, especially the local governments?
Thank you, Pamnesh. First thing, though we have the local governments, we usually have a central government. It's a kind of a wave which came with democracy, and we appreciate the wider space. It's good. However, the policy development at central level is critical. Like in Kenya, we have a national agricultural sector extension policy. These give the general perspective in how the extension services should be provided. From this one, each local government look at the ecosystem that it's living and what is that working out there. Develop a practical policy that will help it attract various partners, such as KUZA. For example, in Kirinyaga, we have what I've talked about, Wezesha. Wezesha is a program basically meaning enabling the local community, particularly with a special focus on women and youth. Now, having that one in place, which is a legal framework that allow you to partner with any other person, because when I'm partnering with KUZA, even if the NARIC program is not there, there is already a government framework that allows me to partner with KUZA. So creation of policy frameworks at local level that is linked to the national level allows you to partner both internationally and nationally, as well as encouraging the community around you to be able to move. So that's a basic thing that each local government need to look at. Creating policy environment.
Yeah, John, I appreciate your response. We are running a little bit ahead of time, so I'm rushing the discussion a little bit. So Robert, coming to you, I just wanted to ask you that in order for you to be, are you going to stay with 200 farmers, or are you going to go for a larger universe in terms of becoming a trainer for other entrepreneurs and all? What is the route you are taking? Growing the business in the area where you are, or you are also trying to take this approach elsewhere? I want your views on that.
So we are trying to scale it up because many other youth, especially those I work closely with and are out of school, are really interested. And right now, the others have even become better trainers than myself. So we are looking forward to train them more on how to use the KUZA program. Again, the tablets we were given, they have a business training program, which trains on almost all the aspects of business. So currently I've shared that with around 10 youth who are also even in different areas of business other than agriculture. and it has really, they have really appreciated that, and it has made a difference in the way they do business. So I believe it is very scalable, and again, by the upshot, what I've said earlier on is that it is very attractive to youth, because once you put up the videos, already that's the conversation for you with the farmers, and they even give you more insights, give you more challenges they are facing. And now when you think on the side of solution, that's where we can make money and even get opportunities to create employment for ourselves as well as empower those communities. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Robert. I think great perspective. I think you're already going and spreading it to 10 other people shows there's something organic in the way this thing's getting scaled up. So I think I really, we're really going to closely follow how we are going to scale with each one of you, and probably have one Agripreneurs conference at some stage with Sriram, where we bring in a range of Agripreneurs to talk and about how they are scaling up, how they are looking at scale there. Last but not the least, I'm very conscious that we haven't lost many people till now. I don't want to lose now many people there at this stage. So I would bring my colleague G.I. Kim, who leads this program in Africa, to really share her perspective on the approach, and also what she sees as constraints or approaches to allow us to scale this in, as all our partners have scale aspirations. We also have scale aspirations. How does this go to scale? And the other countries where you are working in GI, will this approach be, what are the constraints we will face and how we are going to overcome that? Please go ahead, GI.
Thank you, Parmesh. I mean, I'm conscious of the time also. And this is a bit unfair to me because this was a very exciting webinar, knowing Sriram also, having met him in Kenya when we were there back in 2018 or 19. I don't even remember. It wasn't so far back, but it was actually a very special meeting for us with KUZA, because it was the time we also launched a platform idea with them for the 1 Million Farmer Initiative in Kenya, holding innovation challenge and competition, meeting a lot of local agri-tech startups, and then share the ideas and visions as to how to scale them up, also leveraging our own investment, creating the ecosystem. So a shout out to you, Sriram, and kudos to you for having revolutionizing more and transforming the KUZA model even further. I think we should call this now KUZA 2.0, and it's really in the right, direction. And Robert, to you also, a big shout out to you. It's great to meet you. You said you struggled and failed and came back to your locality. But I think that was the best thing happened in your community, to your community, having you. And you said you failed and humbled and came back to your locality. But I think in the future, our vision should be more and more graduates like you from the top university like yours confidently take up agriculture as top of their choice, not as the choice, a second or third. And I think for that, my reflections to this webinar and what I want to share as a challenge for all of you is that we should bring that narrative really strongly, that agriculture is the future sector, which should be embedded front and center actually in the digital economy. And what we are doing with KUZA, the OneNetwork, and then the REDI is a very good beginning in that. And I'm really struggling to find out the good fit, and not struggling, but I think I'm challenged to think about the good fit between our institution and then the model like KUZA. And with that, what I want to share, I think I will skip my reflections on the approach and solutions because it's maybe we have shared enough. But what I want to leave this webinar with, and I want to give you as sort of some of the thought, food for thought, especially to people like you, Sriram, and then Nadi, and our Dr. John and Robert. is how do we also, in the sense of making agriculture as everyone's top choices, and then having it as, front runner in the digital economy. How do we also make agriculture a more lucrative business for smallholder farmers who if they have a more, we can help them have a double, triple digit sort of increase in their farm income, will become the the strong demander of our services and our, what we have to offer, right? And open up the market, not just in the region, in the locality, in the community, but to international marketplace, where Africa becomes really the front runner in making agriculture the future sector, centered around in the digital economy. And I don't have a solution for that. I think it's just, we really have to work together. KUZA as a World Bank, we have great potential to leverage our investment projects to reorient the agriculture, and then have, provide a lot of opportunities to, tripling the farm income, which then bring bringing them as the collective demand for these businesses to thrive. And the thrive is actually one of the words that it really came to me when, as we were discussing, Sriram, the KUZA models, sustaining youth, in this model for them, for their services to smallholder farmers. You mentioned in your slide how they sustain this. And I think we should actually have a quantum leap from here to think about how to make youth thrive in this business. And that's where I think the scale for, scale of the REDI and then the OneNetwork can take a quantum leap and make this model, the feedback loop between the REDI and the OneNetwork and in the ecosystem to, to a different level. Yeah, bring that to a different level. So in a sense, I think for me, this youth discussion is very close to my heart, as we've met a lot of agri-tech innovators in Kenya and have already seen their potential. And we will continue brainstorm and visualize how they will become the leaders who will transmogrify agriculture, because right now still the perception exists around the agriculture that it's backbreaking and back end. So yeah, more to come later. I don't think in one webinar we can achieve that scale, but really excited to continue talking to you, Sriram, and again, congratulations on making this KUZA 2.0, let me call it that way, and really appreciate Pramesh for giving me the space to share my thoughts. But I will continue on offline, continually communicating with you all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jia. I'm sorry to rush you at the end on this, and it's just that I wanted to give an opportunity for the panelists to have at least respond to some of the questions which the audience is leaving, and audience to also get a feel that we have included them. So, but it's a very interesting times we are in, and Jia rightly says that. So it is two things. One, food for thought. I want to add one more point, that let's not look at only the agriculture entrepreneurship. We should look at food entrepreneurship also, because maybe if you look at food processing, you look at food preparation, you look at food distribution, all that, then even the universe could even become bigger. So once building the ecosystem is more tough, but I think if you can include food into this equation, because then I think this model will become more sustainable. Each unit agripreneur could even do more. And I've seen this happening in the energy area right now in Africa also. There's a lot of work happening on solar and refrigeration using energy and all that. So I think if we can bring these 2-3 other agendas into this approach, we would be able to make this even more viable. But even scaling up what you have already done in some places and taking it to DRC and Sahel itself is a very big thing. And so we will organize a consultation with our Sahel team now, because they are looking for these kinds of approaches. Big scaled up program we are doing in many countries. So GI and I will try to facilitate a conversation with that team and see if they can look at this approach along with the UNICEF, NADI and others, basically, so that we can make a determined kind of effort in another region, which really would benefit even more strongly with this. And we are seeing clearly that the West Africa is really coming, and another hub for these all innovations which are coming in, and we should really explore that apart from the East Africa, where already you are making a lot of effort there. So I just don't want to summarize everything, but would like to say, and thanks a lot for everyone to participate and staying there till the end and having a good, rich conversation. And please keep on interacting and joining this platform as you go ahead. On this approach, also please approach Shriram, Nadi, John, and Robert as you go forward and continue this conversation beyond the webinar. And we will now put up the proceedings and recordings of this webinar, including the curated chat. So this is the difference in the webinar, is that we also curate all the chat conversations, which sometimes are even more interesting for the follow-up part of it. So look forward to all of you joining the next webinar on 24th, where IFAD is going to talk about digital remittances and other issues which they are working in many countries in Africa. Our focus is quite a bit on Africa in this series, and we would love to hear from you. If you want to make a presentation in this webinar, please write to us, and we will make sure that you also get a slot to present your experiences in the next event. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are, and look forward to continuing this conversation. Bye-bye.